Jerri Ward back with I Object, Justice Examined, and now joining me is my regular guest, the intelligent, the prolific, great writer, Ilana Mercer. And Ilana, as you will all remember, she writes a popular weekly column called Return to Reason for WorldNetDaily.com. She's got a huge audience for that, and she's also an analyst and commentator for Free Market News Network, which was founded by the late Harry Brown, who was a libertarian presidential candidate. She also contributes to other well-known websites and has in the past written weekly columns for the conservative Calgary Herald and Vancouver's North Shore News. She has a website at ilanamercer.com where she maintains a blog called Barely a Blog, which is a fascinating blog. Ilana, welcome back.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm fine. As you probably know, we've been talking about child protective services, and part of that we talked about the body of law that
Correction, my dear. You mean the child abduction services, as William Grieg calls them.
Oh, I totally agree with that. And you know what? I shouldn't call it a body of law. I should call it a body of man-passed statutes that gives them rights that totally violate the transcendent rights of Americans. As an attorney, I very much love the traditions and the principles of law that were bequeathed to us by Blackstone, by the English, and by our founding fathers.
Yes, and not all lawyers have the same affinities as you have.
Well, what do you see out there? What kind of affinities do they have?
Well, I was just astounded that one of the no civil libertarian lawyers came forward. There are some magnificent people. I recall, admiring someone like Thomas Mesereau, who defended Michael Jackson magnificently. Silence on that side.
Well, it may be that he's not licensed in Texas if you're talking about the FLDS situation, but there is a lawyer in San Antonio who's a well-known civil libertarian, Jerry Goldstein. But I also thought there would be more high-profile lawyers get into this case. But the thing is that I think that law school beats classical law out of you. And why don't you explain for the folks, we've talked about this before, the difference between positivist law and real law or Blackstonian law?
Well, you have to navigate the positive law, and I luckily can resort in my writing to the only law I know, because I'm not a lawyer, and that's the natural law and natural justice. And certainly, I spoke about the FLDS case in my April 15 column, They're Coming for Your Kids, and you rushed out and acted on that travesty and are defending an FLDS father pro bono. So I think we were among the few people who even who raised a hue and cry in the media, certainly. To me, it was absolutely manifestly clear that in this, I think it was Barbara Walther, the presiding judge in this kangaroo court, who seemed to think that, based on an anonymous tip from a complainant that never materializes, that is probable cause to seize 450 children. I call this the post-constitutional America, in which the Sixth Amendment is so yesterday and so passé. But apparently we were in a minority. I got so many hate mail.
Well, what people out there need to understand is the traditions of our laws, which were enshrined. They weren't created; they were enshrined in our Constitution. Is traditional notions of fair play, the idea that the accused has a right to face their accuser,
exactly.
the idea that people can't come and search your premises and seize things without probable cause.
And even if you're a little creepy or your lifestyle is not commensurate with what the state and its scientists think is appropriate and good for children, even then you are entitled to due process and to be free of unfair searches and seizures.
Well, the the sign of a
government. The burden of proof should be on the state, not on its victims.
Well, exactly. And, what I'm hearing from family lawyers throughout the state is these 14-day adversary hearings where they take your kids and then within 14 days, CPS is supposed to go to the court and prove certain elements in order to be able to retain those kids. What I'm learning from other family law attorneys, and I don't usually do that practice, is that judges throughout this state just act as if it's a pro forma thing. They don't actually consider the evidence. They just rubber stamp what CPS does. So we need some judges out there who actually do their job, even if it's following these lousy statutes.
Yes, and know what we're reading the obviously I didn't read the court ruling, but just reading the brief news reports about it to the extent that they are accurate. So much of this law is based in constructs that are not legal but are psychobabblic. In other words, what does that mean that the people were accused of training boys to be grown-up predators? That is a psychological construct. It is not a legal premise.
Well, but the problem is that these statutes that the legislature has bamboozled to pass all for the children is that they're so broad and vague that they promote the use of psychobabble in determining to use the children. And what people need to realize out there is that the sign of creeping totalitarianism in a government is when they try to scare you into losing your rights. And what they've done in the case of these laws to protect so-called protect children is they've used the children in an effort to cause us to lose our rights, because it seems to me that CPS throughout the country is most active not in those cases where kids are in real physical danger, because a lot of times they end up dying.
Well, let's just add that at least 4 children died in protective services in 2006.
In Texas.
Who's guilty of murder, yeah.
Well, exactly. The parent, Texas, the government does not make a good parent in any respect.
And the legal doctrine of the state as a parent was always opposed by what I call the rigor mortis riddled right, no longer.
Well, people, what you need to understand out there is when they pass these laws, they're not out to protect you or the children. They're out to aggrandize power to themselves.
Yes, and not necessarily by collusion, or this is not conspiracy we are talking. It's just what the state does naturally, reflexively rather.
Exactly. Well, Alana, I want you to stay over because your new column is coming out tomorrow, and I want you to talk a little bit about what it's going to be about and tell everybody where they can find it. So go ahead and stay over, and we'll end up this show with some brilliant thoughts by Alana Mercer. So everybody stay tuned. Jerri Ward back with Alana Mercer for the very last segment of I Object, Justice Examined. And Alana, tell everybody what your column is going to be about tomorrow.
Oh, I still have to write it. Just kidding. I have to wrap it up. It will be up this evening, and I think unless WorldNet Daily changes the title, which they do often, it's going to be called Lexicon of Lies. And I'm going to be talking about those pitch-perfect phrases our prolix presidential candidates use just to throw the American people off scent. Like showing leadership, which means generally bypassing the will of the people, or how about reaching across the aisle to get things done? Another one is comprehensive immigration reform. You know the drill.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting, because I think we do need a lexicon to sort out the messages they're giving us. I'm pretty disgusted right now by the choices that we have, and as you know, I'm a Ron Paul supporter, and I think you are too.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is something that really transcends party, isn't it? I mean, politicians on all sides do this.
Yeah, I mean, what we have running is an axis of evil, an awful menage a trois, and there is no choice to people who still care about liberty.
Well, I think that your column sounds like it's going to be pretty interesting, so tell everybody where they can read it.
They can follow it from my website, www.ilanamercer.com, or worldnetdaily.com as well, every Thursday evening and Friday.
Well, so I suggest that everybody click on to those URLs and read Ilana's work. She's one of the best writers at worldnetdaily.com. And she's got
you one of the best broadcasters, not that anyone would know that. Thanks for your work on behalf of liberty, Jerri.
Well, I'm going to continue the fight, and I know you're going to continue the fight because our traditions of liberty are extremely important. We can't live as Christians, or we can't live as libertarians or
people.
Classical liberals without having those freedoms. So everybody, Ilana and I will be back in about 2 weeks for our next show of I Object, Justice Examined.
Take care, Jerri.
Take care of yourself, Ilana.
This is Right Talk Radio.